Hey kid, don't ever let them get inside your head. They'll tell you what to do in life instead of everything you know that you could get.
Hey, what's up, randos? I'm sure if you're watching this and based on whatever I use as a thumbnail that you already know what I'm going to be talking about as a talking head video. So I'm going to go into details about what happened in my accident, and some details might be a little on the graphic side. So if you don't want those details, now's a good time to click off the video. And I'm not going to apologize for that. You know, I don't even know how long it's been since I've uploaded a video, and my goal is to do this video in one take with minimal editing. Back in June on the 6th, I was supposed to be leaving my place and attending the Hell Michigan campout alongside many of our friends, you know, Loose Juice, Whiskey Chaser, Devin from AZDZ Adventures, 7 Sentinel, our friend Cindy, and so many more people were, you know, Dan and Dave, locals. Our friend Ben flew up from Florida, and I ended up not making it because I was struck by a car. I was leaving my place. I didn't even get off the road I live on, and at the intersection I looked left, I looked right, I looked left. Everything appeared clear, and I proceeded into the intersection. As I proceeded into the intersection and started to turn my bars left, I was struck on my left side by a car. It was a Kia. I don't remember the exact model, but it was a Kia. So I now have a hatred of Kias. I don't know how fast they were going. The police report says they were going exactly 35 is how the driver phrased it. And the cops, my point of view is the cops took them at their word. I'm not going to get into that. All I'm going to get into is the facts. The facts. I knew immediately after, I saw the car, time slowed down, and I quickly realized, I can't accelerate, I can't. There was nothing I could do to avoid being hit. So I just exhaled to relax. The car struck me. I went up and kind of over the car. I was ejected off my bike and sent into the air. I saw my feet above my head. I saw my left ankle kind of do a little helicopter spin, so I knew immediately my leg was broken before I ever hit the ground. I didn't realize it at the time because I didn't feel it because everything happened so quick, but I did land on the back of my head, roughly right here. Pretty much the entire size of my hand was a numb spot. When I hit the ground, I hit the back of my helmet, and then I slid for a few feet. I scraped up my lower back above my tailbone and my left elbow. Because I didn't land on the road, I was ejected and I was sent onto the sidewalk in someone's yard. And I landed on the sidewalk on the sidewalk, and I slid kind of, part of me was on the sidewalk, part of me was in the grass. I did a quick evaluation of myself on the ground, not moving too much. I could wiggle my fingers, I could move my wrists, I could move my arms, I could move everything on my right leg fine. I wiggled my left toes, and immediate, immeasurable amount of pain went through my leg. And it was, the whole time, all I felt was pain below my knee on my left leg. Which, again, I knew it was broken. I mean, I saw it flop around in the air. Quickly, I had 3 people around me. At the time, I didn't realize it was the driver of the vehicle, but a man approached me and he was holding my hand, telling me to breathe, relax, breathe, squeeze his hand. He was talking to me. A woman, I am assuming somebody who lived in that area or pulled up on the accident, was on the phone calling 911. And a third person that lives in my neighborhood came up on the accident, and she was talking with me, and she asked if they could use my belt to make a tourniquet, because apparently I was bleeding, and I didn't know how bad until I felt wetness around my ankle. So this is where I'm going to start getting into some graphic detail. So they took off my belt, and they pulled it on my upper thigh, and they pulled it as tight as they could get it, and I was bleeding, and they said I was bleeding, but they didn't look. They didn't tell me how bad I was bleeding. I asked if, my bone was sticking out of my leg, and it was the man, said he doesn't know, he doesn't want to look. I got one of them to go get my phone off my bike and bring it to me. I called my girlfriend Melissa immediately because I just texted her when I was leaving my house, and I was sharing my location with her. And I called her. I was hoping she wouldn't answer because it was her work. It was the day she was working, and she answered because she was working from home. And I had to tell her while I was laying on the ground waiting for the paramedics to arrive that I had just got hit and that my leg was broken and I didn't know where I was going, but I was going to a hospital. And then I called my mother, left a voicemail for her because she was working outside in the garden, so she didn't have her phone on her. Within a few minutes of the accident happening, I'm assuming a few minutes, I don't know exactly how long, but within a few minutes of being struck, it felt like an ambulance arrived, and they immediately took two of their tourniquets and put them on my thigh, on my left thigh, up near my crotch, and they took the belt off. It was bad. My injury was bad. So EMS got to me. They got my leg situated. They put me on a board. They carried me into the ambulance, which was excruciating. And then they were talking with me, asking me questions. I got them to take my helmet off while I was in the ambulance because they couldn't feel any damage to my vertebrae. And the board they had me on was, forcing my chin down into my chest because of my helmet. So once I was in the ambulance, they talked to me. They had an air evac on the way, a life flight, because of the extent of my injury. And within a few minutes of being in the ambulance, talking with them, I was then being carried to a life flight helicopter, where they took me to Grant Medical Center in downtown Columbus. It's a trauma center. Many of you don't know this. I don't remember talking about it much on my channel or in live streams. I know I talked about it in person. But my father, February of 2023, had a workplace accident, and he was also taken to Grant Medical Center. So they are a trauma center in the southern Columbus area. They're a very well-renowned trauma center. I spent a very short amount of time in the air being transported to Grant Medical Center, where they took me to a trauma room with a bunch of nurses, all prepping me for everything and cleaning me up some and getting me just ready to go through machines and get into the operation room. So my accident happened around noon, and I don't know exactly what time I got to Grant Medical Center. I don't know exactly all the timetables, everything, but I do have a time span. I was awake and aware through all of it. I never blacked out. Got to Grant, they did an evaluation, they asked me questions, they asked me who to contact, and I had to message people from my phone for me. They took me to a CAT scan, and they did a lot, like a whole body, like multiple whole body CAT scans immediately, with and without contrast in my system. They put me in a pre-op bay where my father and Melissa ended up getting to see me for, I don't even think it was less than 10 minutes. And then I was immediately taken into an operating room where they started to work on me. And at that point, I did not know the fullest extent of my injuries other than my leg was bleeding and my bone, and it was broken. That's all I knew at that moment. And I'll get into the extent of the injuries at a little bit more toward the end. So that, when they took me into the operating room, it was somewhere around 2:30 to 3 p.m. It was somewhere in there on June 6th. They took me to the OR, they gave me anesthesia, and I immediately went out. I woke up around 3 to 3:30 the following Friday morning, 3 to 3:30 a.m.-ish, in the ICU, fully intubated. Terrible experience. I never want to be fully intubated again like that. It was the worst experience of my life. Not painful, but I was choking, I was gagging, I couldn't breathe around the tube, and you can't talk because the tube goes all the way down past your vocal cords, so you can't even go. You can't make a sound at all. And now we're going to lean into the more gruesome details. I was awake the rest of that morning until my family got there, and I was just kind of like in and out of sleep for very, very short minutes of time. But my vascular surgeon came in after my mother and a friend of hers were at the hospital with me in the ER, or in the ICU, and the vascular surgeon came in and just told me one thing. He said, best and worst case. Best case scenario, You'll walk again. Worst case scenario, they had to take my leg. So, I asked, okay, best case, I'll walk again. Will I be able to hike again? He said maybe it's going to depend on how intensive of a trail it is and how you're feeling and how you heal. I asked, will I ever be able to ride again? And his words were, I could not condone you ever getting on a motorcycle again. He doesn't want me to ride anymore. That made my mom and her friend upset that I asked that question, but I asked that for me. Because as everyone here knows, riding is a huge part of me. It's a huge part of my life. I love motorcycles, I love motorcycle trips, I love motorcycle events, I love motorcycle camping, I love my riding brother and sisters. But he did stress that the worst case scenario is they might take my leg. So I ended up later that day finding out that what had happened is that my tibia and fibula, if I'm remembering the name of the bones, the two bones that make up your lower leg, were both shattered and fragmented. They didn't just break, they went pew, and fragmented. And that caused a lot of damage. Namely, what happened is it damaged all my arteries. You have 3 arteries that feed your foot below the knee. One they had to do a bypass on to save it. One comes to an abrupt end halfway down my calf. And I don't know the state of the third, but they made it sound like it just kind of disappeared. That's how I took it. So I right now in my left leg only have one artery feeding my foot blood. And if that artery gets closed off, clogged or anything, that's where amputation would have been a thing. And I had as they phrased it, a Nerf football-sized wound across my calf. So, for an example, they went like this, and if I hold up this Xbox controller, it's about the size of the Xbox controller is how open it was. Not to mention my leg itself was swollen up twice the size of normal because of just everything. So I had 2 surgeries on the 6th, back to back. One was orthopedic, putting the bone back together, immediately followed up by vascular to try to save all the arteries and make sure I was getting blood flow throughout my leg. And then they basically put something called a wound vac and wrapped my leg up in such a way that the wound vac was drawing blood and other non-good things out of the openness of my leg. I had a total of 15 days in the hospital. So I was put in on the 6th, and I was discharged on the 21st of June. And in those 15 days, I had the orthopedic, the vascular, a total of, I believe, 6 surgeries. So we had orthopedic, vascular, plastic where they went in and cleaned out my leg, plastic where they went in again and cleaned out more of my leg. They went in, they cleaned out my leg, and I didn't know what they did at the time, but I've since learned what they did is they went in, cleaned it out, and they moved soft tissue and different tissues around the inside of my leg so that they could make that Nerf football-sized open wound smaller. And they made it smaller, and then my last surgery was one of the last surgeries is where they put a skin graft on that little bit of openness. So they took skin off of my upper thigh and put it down there. And that was on the 14th. And then on the 15th, they removed the wound vac because the wound vac needed to be left on while that skin graft was healing, because it just helped pull moisture and things away from the skin graft so it could heal. And then the 19th is when they took the wound vac off, and the 21st was when I was discharged. And I had a lot of specific rules, so I couldn't put any weight on that leg. So the bones were shattered. In the tibia, which is the bigger of the 2 bones, they put a metal nail in it and screws to hold it in place, and they glued the bone together around it, and then they glued the fibula together itself. Since then, it's the 25th of August, and at the time of recording this, and since then I've gotten to walking with assistance of crutches. I'm still not full weight bearing yet. I have been discharged from home health services, both home health, physical therapy, and home health nursing, and I'm waiting to hear back from my orthopedics office to get into my outpatient therapy, which is where I'd be going to a facility for more physical therapy. In my left leg, I still have pain in my knee when I walk. My toes don't fully curl, and my big toe specifically on my left foot, it doesn't. Most people can isolate their big toe and get it to lift up. I can't do that with my big toe at the moment, and I don't have full range of motion in my left ankle. I can only get it from like to neutral position, which is like 90 degrees with the rest of my leg. Basically, like if you're standing up straight, it's how your foot is when you're standing up straight. That is the farthest I can get my left foot up. I can't get past that. So, you know, like if, let's say my arm is my leg, this is my foot. If my foot's wrestling like that, I can get it to here, but I can't get past that. Probably not the greatest example, but I'm not sure how else to phrase it. Which I don't know what's going on with that. My physical therapist from home health, when she was visiting on her last visit, told me that it's usually 8 to 12 weeks out from surgery before that range of motion starts to really come back completely, and I'm now in that mark. But the more gruesome notes of that is they apparently, during my original operation on the 6th, while I was fully intubated and everything out, they had told everyone, all of my family that was in the ICU waiting room, to expect me to come home without a leg. I wasn't told that, but that's what they told everyone, my family and everyone that was there for me, and I didn't find that out until much later, that no one thought I was going to keep my leg. The doctors didn't. My family was given the impression that I was coming home without a leg. But I'm healing better than they thought. I'm doing better than they thought, but I'm still struggling. Obviously, I'm not walking without crutches because I don't have the full range of motion in my left leg like I should with my ankle and my foot and my toes. I have to wear something called an AFO. I don't remember what it stands for, but if you just Google AFO, it's like a plastic thing that goes down the back of your calf and under your foot to keep it in that neutral position. Because if I try walking without an AFO on, my toes drag, and that's a tripping hazard. And I don't know for how long, but I was also told that if I trip and fall, or in general if I fall, I have to go back, I have to call my orthopedic office, and if they tell me to come in immediately for an examination, I have to. I don't know how long, I don't know if that's just until the bone heals completely, I don't know if that's for the rest of my life. I haven't asked that question yet. So I've been home for a while now, and even though I'm doing better physically each and every week, it has gotten hard mentally because I've missed out on a lot of trips. I was supposed to go to Hell, Michigan. I was supposed to go to Arcata, Maine with friends, not for a motorcycle trip. I was supposed to go to a Beartooth concert July 13th that I couldn't make it to. It's rough. I haven't been able to watch motorcycle stuff since I came home because I don't have the heart to. It hurts. It hurts. Not like I get an anxiety attack, but it hurts my soul because I can't ride right now. I don't know if I'll ride in the future. I don't know if I'll never ride again. I don't know if I will ride again. It's up in the air because a lot of it is going to dictate on how I heal, but I do know that if I ride again, when I ride again, I'm going to have to start from the ground up. I'm going to have to go back through the MSF course. I'm going to have to learn from the ground up, and the way I ride is going to change drastically. I probably won't be able to do these long distance trips anymore because of circulatory issues that may become part of my life with my leg. I'm definitely not going to be able to do the cold winter riding like I was doing. But I'm not ready to just give up on that yet. Not yet. I mean, worst case scenario, I'll get a Spider, a Riker. I'll get a trike of some kind. Well, that wouldn't be worst case. Worst case would be giving up riding entirely. I'm physically I'm doing better. Mentally, it's been a real challenge because I've had to rely on so many people for help. I had my mother living with me for a time. I've had Melissa coming and spending a lot of time here and helping me with things. And as someone who is very independent and individualistic, to now have to rely on so many people for help, it's hard. It sucks. It's hard. It's not fun. But I'm alive. I've kept my leg. I will walk again. Things will get better. It's just going to take time. I was told the bone won't fully heal until, at minimum, and it's a big time range minimum, 6 months to a year for the bone to heal. There is, as I understand it, small chances for surgeries in the future based on the healing. If the bone doesn't heal, that's a surgery. If my toe doesn't start to work, that could potentially be another surgery. And I just found out Friday, what would that have been, the 23rd? Or on the 23rd, that my bike is now totaled. Which sucks, but it is a huge relief, because that means I'll get paid out. My loan will either get completely wiped out or almost completely wiped out, so I won't have to be paying X amount of money per month for a bike that isn't rideable and that I won't be able to ride even if it was rideable. So it sucks, because the lowrider is my dream bike. It's the perfect bike, and it's gone. And yeah, it's been a ride. It sucks. I just want to, give everyone an update that I am okay for the most part. I am recovering. I'm not going to disappear. I may or may not ever get back on a bike, but my channel will remain, because Nothing at Random was not a channel meant about motorcycles. It is a channel about adventures, documenting them and sharing them. I've said it in many videos. I don't do YouTube to try to make an occupation out of it. I do it as a hobby. I'm doing it to share what I do with other people. The downside is I'm probably not going to be going on any trips like that for a while. I know I have friends going camping at the end of next month for Throttle Co's secret camp out, and I will not be able to join that, unfortunately. I don't think I'm ready to camp yet, because I'm still taking meds. I don't have a whole lot of range of motion. I'm still not super steady on my feet, and I would have to be sleeping. I don't know if I'd be able to get up off the ground once I get on the ground to sleep. I would need a cot that sits up about as high as my bed does right now, or at least as high as like my chair seat is, and it would be a lot of hassle and a lot of trouble, and I don't want to inconvenience other people. Plus, if everyone went out on a group ride, I'd just be sitting in camp alone, and people would feel bad about that, and I would feel awful about it, and I don't want that to happen. So I will be making videos in the future with Nothing at Random on this channel. They will be adventure. They're going to be like vacations, trips, things like that. In the interim, in the meantime, I'm going to start a second channel, and it is going to be a channel oriented around one of my other hobbies, gaming. I'm a big gamer. I play video games, tabletop games, card games, all of it. So in that channel, I will put a link below in the description. It's going to be a gaming channel, because I enjoy gaming, and it'll give me something that I can still do in my downtime to film and record and edit. And I've been thinking on this even before the accident, but I just never pulled the trigger on it, because I was like, I already spent so much time writing and editing the writing videos that I released, that I thought, running a second channel, playing video games, recording video games, editing the video games, at that point, I would never sleep. So I love everyone that has given me support over the last almost 2 years, because I started in October 2020 is when I started my channel, so almost 2 years. But thank you for supporting me for all of this. Thank you for tuning in, leaving comments, sharing my videos, talking to me at events. Again, I'm not disappearing. I'm still going to try to go to events when I can. I just might not be on a bike. But I'm not going to give up on trying to have adventures. Nothing at Random is my adventure channel. That is the channel meant for adventures. There was a very heavy motorcycle adventure presence on it and motorcycle vlogging, because every day on a bike is an adventure in its own way to me. And I'm going to try to carry that on in the future, even if I don't ride. But thank you for the love and support. I'm not disappearing, but I will probably be releasing less content on this channel. But I'm not going to disappear on anybody. And I can't wait to see everybody